getting from the translation to the English something that we could all agree on. But there is this one thing that I hate. I'll probably never work again as Virgil when I say this, but he and I get together and we have these guns. It's the first time I use a gun as the character, and they want us to say jackpot. And I'm just having a real hard time with how and why and what the backstory is on jackpot. I'm like, were we in Vegas together one night? And it was like, jackpot, baby. I don't know how it came about, but somehow we were, I hope, we pulled something together.
Yeah, there was a lot of those. I mean, as you guys know, I mean, I don't know, or may not know, I speak fluent Japanese. I lived in Japan 5 years, and there's, I had a lot of input with script translation, and that was, our company kind of did a lot of that. And a lot of things don't translate, you know, and that was some of the stuff that works well in the Japanese culture and is really cool is not so cool in English, and vice versa. Some things that is really cool in English, you know, it just doesn't translate. So what we tried to do with the Devil May Cry 3 script was make something that would work in both languages for both. So a lot of the what do you call it, the subtitles in the bottom of the Japanese subtitles. I don't know if you played the Japanese version. There's Japanese subtitles. They don't exactly match up. They're kind of they're kind of put there just to kind of create the feeling and whatnot. But what was the question again?
Favorite and least favorite lines.
Oh yeah, I gotta agree with.
Getting away from that one.
Gotta agree with Dan on the jackpot deal.
Should have seen us in rehearsal.
Well, but there is another thing that I thought was kind of funny. I think it's this thing that Yakuza thing.
Yeah, so,
It made no sense.
also, okay, not only with words but with body language. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't translate. So, you know, one of the animators or one of the Capcom staff will have an idea that's really cool in Japanese, or it's like a way somebody carries himself.
Like this.
I guess a lot of Yakuza guys in Shinjuku will sit around or you know sit on the curb, kind of kneel down, and that's the thing they do. And I was trying to make it work, and it was a taunt. It was supposed to be a taunt that I was supposed to do, and it was just like, you know, ora ora, nani yattennayo. Yeah. So, but because I work so closely with the Japanese staff, they all think, oh, Ruben, he can, you know, you're just saying.
He's Japanese.
Yeah, well, no, they're saying that they think that I'm disagreeing with them just as a person, not as a as a culture thing. I'm saying, no, this won't work in English, you know. In English, it doesn't work. It does not work. And they're like, no, you're just saying that because you don't want to do it. So, so I have to bring in these guys and say, come on, guys, come on, all right, look at me. What am I doing here? This is work.
See, let's go.
They still don't believe me. They still make me do it anyways. So, you know, a lot of it was just, it was what animators and directors and guys had in mind. But hey, you know, whatever, it works. I tried to make it work.
You did have the worst stuff though. Like you had more of those things than
Yeah.
I will say, they pretty much left you and I alone with our characters. But, you know, Dante is such a, you know, it is Devil May Cry that every day he went to work, he had 10 people telling him how to do Dante. It's hilarious. But, I will say this, still, in my experience, the best time I've ever had working with a group of people in terms of collaborating on a project and coming up with something that we all loved. So please don't forget that. They were the best that I've ever worked with in 11 years I've been doing various shows at collaboration and listening to creative input.
Yeah, that I agree. The Devil May Cry series has been a dream project for myself and my company and working with these guys. I mean, there's no other project that I've worked on that, you know, has come together like it has. It's pretty much, I mean, it's the hardest work I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding as far as just from start to finish, being able to, you know, bring together the team and everybody's just passionate about something, and you don't see that much. I mean, there's a lot of projects out there, especially in the entertainment industry, there's just a lot of egos and a lot of things that don't go as smoothly. And these projects have been, you know, dreams come true.
Dreams.
Okay, our next question that we received online was for Dan. Dan, Virgil had been a highly anticipated addition to the Devil May Cry franchise, really since the first game when Nello Angelo was introduced. Were there any expectations you were facing when you assumed the role? And a lot of people were wondering how you got your motivation.
Let's see. There was, I remember after the initial sort of a few auditions and then meeting with the director himself, they wanted me to sort of emulate the Blind Swordsman, was that right? Zatoichi. They wanted me to really capture a little bit of Zatoichi in the way this guy moved. Not necessarily the character, because if you know anything about Zatoichi, he's kind of a funny guy. And they would not let me be very funny. They were very surprised when they came back and they found out that I was goofball. Especially with anyway. Especially with a pint of beer. And so what I did was I went and I watched a lot of Zatoichi, and I sort of really understood what they're looking for in the character, and he's a very precise, sort of moving and thoughtful character. And then aside from that, I just was a real jackass, a real jerk, and they loved that. So that's the part you go, is that really me? Is that my personality, or am I playing the character? But that's about it. No, yeah.
So, Zatoichi as jackass.
Yeah, exactly.
Shorter form.
I would say yes. Arrogant Zatoichi.
Zatoichi Quinn.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be taking another question from the press row. I expect a little bit more activity from you guys now. Come on.
I know it might sound fun, but actually it's pretty dangerous to taking the action capture. So I wondered if any of you guys actually got hurt during the Devil May Cry 3s, and how about Devil May Cry 4?
One of us did get hurt. Well, I mean, yeah, we got smacked around a bit, but it's
Part of the job.
Let me just go
Chicks take the scars.
Let me go into the whole casting process. Actually, this is probably, I don't know about Johnny and Dan, but as far as drilling everybody, this was one of the most severe auditions, I think, because we were casting people for many talents, not just, you know, voice or action, but we had like I brought Dan in, and it was like probably an hour audition. We were looking for, you know, acting ability, of course, physical acting ability, which is even different than, you know, television acting. You sit in a chair, you go into an audition, you sit in a chair and you deliver your lines. So I had to check everybody's movements when they're acting, because of motion capture and because it's a video game. You're an animated character. You have to be more expressive with your body movements and your face. You know, PS3 is awesome. I mean, you can see with Nero and everybody, their facial expressions, everything's there. But for PS2, the animators do that. You know, we didn't have facial capture. So I had to make sure that everybody could act with their body, as well as action ability, because we were pitching the Gollum effect, basically one person doing everything, doing their own stunts, doing their acting, doing their voice and everything. The other thing was the voice. We brought them in. We had them go into like a little voice booth and do their voice audition as well. So they were coming in and they were getting drilled. So it was a long audition process. And anyways, the whole motion capture thing, there's very few people out there that can even do motion capture work, let alone voice work and you know, action stunts, physical acting. So I really, I had known these guys from Power Rangers, and all of our teacher mentors, and our main.
Mentos.
No.
He has a Japanese
No,
Mentos commercial. You should see it.
We'll talk about that later.
Someone get on YouTube.
But on Power Rangers, it's probably the best training ground for this project because for Power Rangers you have to have all that, and these guys had that at the beginning, but then they honed those skills, and on Power Rangers the directors and the stunt guys really pushed them to the limits to bring those skills out, myself included. So with all that in mind, these guys, I brought in other actors who weren't on Power Rangers, and these guys shine through, every time I have a motion capture audition. So we got smacked around a lot. It was dangerous, and
There was one day I was fooling around with the stunt guys, and we were working on a trick called a gainer, which is where you take a step forward and you do a backflip while you're traveling forward. So I come out and I'm showing them how to do gainers and stuff, and of course they already know how to do it. They're very, very good. They're just sort of being very accommodating and humoring me, right? And I get out there thinking, I'm good, so I'm going to show them a thing or two. I do my gainer and I get up, and I actually crashed on my head, landed straight on my head. It was like one of these things. I did the gainer and then went crack. And the first thing, and as a stuntman, from being a stuntman previously, first thing you do when you crash like that is you get up, you go, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. You do the quick check to make sure all the body parts stay connected. And as I'm sort of making sure everything's connected, I noticed that my pinky is grabbing a hold of my ring finger. So I had bent my ring finger over. Completely, I was at a 90-degree angle on my hand. And I could see all the stunt guys going. I said, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay. Oh! I didn't want anybody to see, so I took my finger, and you can't just bend it back, you have to pull it out so the tendons. Pinch the tendons. So I got an hour left. I don't want to get driven to the hospital and have to come back, and just because I was being arrogant, showing off. So I take my finger and I just snap it back into place, and I go, yeah, it's fine, let's go. And all of them, to this day, they still talk about that. Because, he just snapped his finger back in place and we went right back to work. And it started to swell. By the end of the hour, it was like this. It looked like the microphone. No, I'm not being rude. I can't help it. I can't bend my finger. And we had this scene where it's the scene where we're fighting on the whale. Is that the whale we're fighting on? The very last scene. It's very strange. We're on this flying whale. No, that's not the one. Oh, never mind. That's something different. Okay. So we're fighting for the sword, and in that scene, I have to really sort of. He defeats me, and I have to really sort of muster up my strength, and I'm in pain, and it hurts. And the director goes, okay, can you do this? And I go, yeah. So I take my bad finger and I slam it on the ground. And then I don't have to act. When you've been working all day, sometimes you just got to use what you're given there. Anyway, that's my hurt story.
Oh, Charlie's great. You got a hurt story.
I did hurt myself, yeah. I mean, it's not like a great story, though. It wasn't like I had a thing sticking out of me. All I had to do was carry a girl, and my concern was that I would hurt myself. Because I had to jump off of something that's a little higher than this and then land on one knee. And I did it a ton of times, maybe 10 times, and finally got it right. And then I had to stand up from that knee position. And I was like, okay, I'm good, it's no problem. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm just walking around, and then I turn and it pops. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? And then to this day, I have these veins that go down the side of my calf that are like this, you know? It's pretty nasty. It's like varicose veins on my one side. But it was just like a small meniscus tear. I finally got it figured out.
It was a meniscus.
Yeah, it was a small tear. But it's not that bad. It still worked after that though. But I felt stupid. It would have been better if like my knee was like sticking out and I had to pop it back in place. In fact, that's the story I'm sticking with. That's what happened. My leg was like off to the side and I was like, popped it back in place. They still talk about it to this day.
Do you have any more questions from the audience?
Just a plain simple question for Johnny. Out of all the characters you played for the years, what is your most favorite character of all of them? Out of all of them?
That's a good question. It's definitely not Adam in Power Rangers. I mean, it was fun to play him, but he didn't talk much, and I called him the background ranger. Basically a glorified extra. He got to wear a suit occasionally. Vash was a lot of fun because it was like the first thing I did. Got to do a lot of squealing, yeah. Ichigo is pretty cool, but honestly, Nero is one of my favorites because I got to do more than just the voice. You know, I got to be Nero. I got to play it out and do the action and stuff like that, and that for me was fun. Plus, I got to go to Japan. You know, that was totally sweet. But Kiba was also very cool. That was the first character that I got to play that I was like, oh, I get to play a cool character. You know? It's so sweet of me, isn't it? You're going to give that to me? Oh, thank you. Wow, I wasn't expecting a kiss. No, it's fine. Thank you. You drew this?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm always amazed at how well people can draw. Because I suck, really bad.
All right, we have kind of a shy question, so I'll go ahead and ask it for her. Do you still know how to do the Vash laugh, or after you kind of are done with the role, you don't remember any of your lines?
I don't remember most of my lines. I think I can recall the laugh vaguely, so I'll give it a shot. Let's see. It takes a lot of air to laugh.
Okay, we have another question, and this one is going to Ruben. Ruben, we know that you've done motion capture for the 2 games. Is this your first voiceover role? Was Dante?
Yes, Dante was my first voiceover role, and it was very challenging, but luckily we had a wonderful voice acting director, Mary Elizabeth. She's done a number of things. I don't know. She even
Cowboy
did,
Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. She did. You worked with her a lot, Joni.
She directed me
on
Wolf's
Wolf's Range. She's done a ton of stuff, but.
She just won the voice act, which was for anime.
Oh, okay. For which role? Best actress for which role?
I don't know.
You guys know that?
Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, she is also a wonderful voice actress. She did Motoko in Ghost in the Shell. Anyway, she is amazing. Daddy's little spell. No, she's awesome. So she really, I think, I can't take all the credit for the role of Dante because she really brought it out of me. She sat me down and it was hard. I don't have the.
Gave him a good spanking.
There you go. But yes, that was my first role, and it was very challenging. And things are a lot easier now, but she made it. She got me where I needed.
You think you'll be doing more voice acting after this?
I hope so. I have done some stuff. I can't really talk about it. It hasn't come out yet, but there's more to come.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the press, Rob? You guys stink.
Yeah.
And no one knows what the deal is with Nero yet, so.
And we can't talk about it.
Spot on.
Actually, I do have a friend of mine is a doujinshi artist in Japan, and on her website she has little bios of Virgil and Dante for her books, and one of which includes Virgil's collection of self-rolling necktie cases because he can't bear to see them. But necktie cases, they look like little soda cans, and you put your necktie in and it rolls them up and keeps them wrinkle-free. I saw them in the Sky Mall catalog on my flight out.
He keeps these things.
Apparently it's in keeping with Virgil's intensely anal retentive nature.
I am anal retentive, I can see.
There you go, a similarity.
No, I guess.
I just think that after walking the planet for a few thousand years, you might be tired of the whole tie thing. It's a real pain in the, I don't know. I mean, I would just walk around naked and bald. Why bother with anything after 2,000 years? Jeez.
Exactly.
That's when Sparta decided to get married.
So someone would clothe him and feed him. Okay, do we have any audience questions?
Yeah, I know the work of Renton that you did earlier, there was almost like a polar opposite of Ichigo. What was it like to make that kind of transition?
That one was pretty tough because I came in, they had already started dubbing like 13 episodes. And someone else was doing the part of Renton, and the Japanese producers weren't pleased with it. And so they had called me in, and the director was worried because they wanted someone with a younger voice. And so they really wanted me to be really high-pitched, And so in the very beginning, it was really tough because I was like, if you push me too far, I'm not going to have any range, And then after about, episode 9, they said, okay, yeah, you're right. Bring it down a little bit. It was tough, but I did actually. Ichigo was after Eureka 7, so it wasn't that tough, because I really got most of my Eureka 7. I don't even know why. That was another weird thing is they made us say Eureka instead of Eureka. That was again a Japanese thing, but it wasn't that different. What was your question? Was that your I feel like maybe I went off. Did you say did you ask me how different it was? Because that's what I liked answering. Was that, I don't know.
Renton Thurston. My name is Renton Thurston.
Yeah, that was about it. Something like that. I kept it there for most of the time. What was that? Oh, hey. Hey, that is ridiculous.
Take it outside.
All right, yay! Say hi. I said hi. All right.
I'm wondering if any of you had played with, Devil May Cry 3, the game after it's finished, or have for Nero, Devil May Cry 4, the demo, and what you think about it?
Of course, 3, played in special edition and all that good stuff. Yeah, I love video games. I wish I had more time to play them. But yeah, I played it for 4. None of us have played 4. I know they had a playable demo at TGS, but unfortunately, we did not get to play that. Yeah, and E3's gone, so I don't know. I'm sure we'll get to play it soon.
I played 1. 1 was,
I have it, but I'm like, at some level, I just can't beat it. So I was like, so I started playing Kingdom Hearts.
That speech.
But then I did get to play a little bit of 3, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, well, this is a question we received for all of you. Since you've all spent time in front of the camera and doing voiceover work, what's more difficult? Is it harder to work without a live set when you're interacting as characters, or is it just about the same?
You mean comparing motion capture to voiceover work?
No, to doing live action.
The live set. Oh, okay. Motion capture is it's taking over. I mean, I'm actually working right now with James Cameron on his movie Avatar, doing motion capture, just that. And it's kind of been the world that I've been, since Devil May Cry and everything. It's just been kind of my world is the motion capture world now. They don't let me out of the suit. I'm stuck in spandex the rest of my life. And reflective balls. But it's at first when I first started motion capture, I thought I always preferred to do live action stuff, and I always just thought as motion capture is like an acting school or an acting tool, because it's like acting class. You're in an imaginary space and you exactly. But as it's progressed, it's become more fun for me than regular acting, I guess, on a set. Because the other day I was working on a project and I was playing, and one day I played 3 different characters. I was like a Marine killing monsters. Then I was a CIA agent where I had to look cool and snap somebody's neck. And then I was a drunk old guy walking on the street and taking a leak. This was all the same day, as well as you get to play women. It's awesome. I know, and you can do all this in one day, and only with the technology, motion capture. It's amazing. So in that sense, motion capture is definitely it's going to new. James Cameron's working with it, so Spielberg's working with it. All these guys are, it's the new Hollywood. Robert Zemeckis just finished Beowulf, which will be out, I think, this year, the end of this year. Full CG, $200 million motion capture film with big names in it. So it's definitely a. It's definitely a technology that I think we, as, in the video game industry, us guys working in it, it's, we're kind of in the forefront in the lead of things. But I'd say I like doing both. It's hard to say which one right now, but there's pluses and minuses.
When you're working on a set, everything is done for you. You show up and the room is constructed. They've been working on the scene that you walk onto for 3 months before you get there. If you have any ideas about props, you have to make sure to communicate with the director or the special effects or prop person ahead of time. You can't just come up with it on the spot sometimes. Sometimes you can use the prop, sometimes this jug of water is glued to the table and it won't move and you're screwed. But what I really like about, you have to actually spend time in the space looking it over and getting ideas from the space. But what I love about motion capture, and I've said this often, is that it's difficult. It's more difficult because you have to create the environment in your head. You have to actually create the coliseum that you're standing in as you're watching your sister sing or something like that. It involves a little bit more sort of energy to recreate everything, but the one thing that's wonderful about it is you can create anything you want on the spot. You know, and it's pretty easy to go, hey, you know, what if I had like a scepter here? And they'll go, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Then they'll go get some PVC pipe and glue a tennis ball to the top of it. There you are, you got your scepter. You still have to imagine it's this gold scepter. But the fun thing is you have a little bit more room with what you can play with and create on the spot. And I think that's wonderful. And one thing that's kind of cool is I did get a chance to work with Ruben on the camera project for a couple of weeks. And, you know, they're in there building all of these set pieces out of chicken wire. And so it's really cool, you know, it's like the big budget version of, instead of pulling out the mats and go, this is your table, right here. And that is your car, and you're looking at, you know, a couple of wooden boxes, and you go, okay, that's good. Well, in the camera saying, you know, it's a chicken wire car. And it's a chicken wire desk. And you go, everything is where it's supposed to be. It's great. You still have a little less work there, but there's more of a realism in that too. So it's interesting to see the two worlds kind of meld at the moment. Anyway, you know.
I think that the motion capture is probably the toughest. You know, voice acting is pretty tough just because you have to make sure your motions match what's on the screen. Live action, it's what you do and who you are really. But motion capture, at least because this was my first time to do motion capture, it wasn't just me doing the things. You know, I had to sometimes over exaggerate my hand motion or my head tilt or whatever it was. So there's a lot of that had to go on. Whereas if I'm just acting a live action, I'm just doing what I do, you know? Whereas you have to make everything slightly bigger with motion capture. And that sometimes it's a little complicated because then you sometimes feel like you're overacting, you know, and you don't want that to be in your voice at all. You want your voice to still be the same as how you would act, but you're somewhat overacting with your body motions, which was kind of interesting, you know. And it was a little tough in the beginning, you know, to get that down. Especially the first day, because I was like, oh, I feel like something's wrong here, you know. But once you know, pull it together and realize what you're doing, then it all kind of works out.
Do we have any questions from the press row?
Okay, I have another one.
This ribbons are.
I don't know, is there much not to like about this? No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to like. I mean, he gets stabbed and beat up, and he can still kind of run around and he eats pizza. He doesn't get fat. He's got great abs. Yeah, what's not to like about the guy? You know, I guess he's liked by the women. I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing I don't like about him.
Is there anything you like about him?
I like everything about him.
Everything? Okay.
Yeah, your turn.
Yeah, I really liked playing my character. It was a very fun character to play. I tend to really sort of get off on playing the characters that come from a really dark sort of place of deep angst. And I put a little bit of the Quantum Ranger in there. And for a second there I was going, am I just a one-note actor? What the hell am I doing? This is the Quantum Ranger. And then I started to find, and that was during the rehearsal process, and then I was able to find something different about him. But I absolutely loved playing the character. I don't think there's really anything that I could say I dislike about any of the characters I play, because anything that's a flaw in the character is what makes the character very interesting, And you're lucky when you find stuff like that. Yeah. I wish you looked a little more like me, but that's...
I can't really talk about too much. I don't know what you're looking at. The only thing I would have liked would be to have the sword in this hand. I'd love the crazy devil arm in that. That would have been cool. because it made it a lot harder for me. I was really concerned, about playing the character because, people aren't really sure, is he taken away from the story or whatnot. But I think once you guys play the game, you'll see that it's going to be a great addition and just really takes the story, deeper.
Do you have any audience questions? I see a hand.
I have two. One is directed to Ruben and just one?
Just one. You have to give other people a chance.
Okay.
You can raise your hand again.
Were there any ideas that you guys had during the process of making the game that were unscripted in DMC3?
Yeah, I think so. I can't think of any specifics right now. I mean, but the whole process was every day it was, why don't we do it this way, or why don't we do that way, or this doesn't translate, this does. There was a lot of yeah, like Dan says, it was very collaborative. The director was very open. Shimomura, he was the cinematic director, and Itsuno-san was the overall game director. They were both on set most of the time. Shimomura was on set the whole time. He's the guy who directed the action verses, and he just finished the movie Death Trance. I don't know if you guys saw that. But he was very open. It was his first time working with English-speaking foreigners, so I guess he really wanted a lot of input, and he allowed a lot of input.
He was he's one of my favorite directors that I've worked with. One of them,
definitely. And yeah, the whole process. I mean, we had a script, and he had his ideas, and then we'd get on set, and then we'd add our own, and then the same thing in the voiceover. The voice room, he was allowing Mary Elizabeth McGlynn to come in with some ideas, again with us, the actors, coming in with more ideas. So it was, it was just adding on, constantly adding on, and taking away what was not needed.
A lot of the sword stuff that you see me doing, or I'm sorry, that you see Virgil doing, where he does, where he puts the sword away or he'll take it out, they allowed me to sort of just go into the corner by myself and figure out cool ways to whip it out, put it away, thrust it, swing it, smack it. Anyway, that was kind of cool.
Well, I wasn't in Devil May Cry 3, so I can't really give you anything.
Okay, we have another one in the audience.
When you did voice acting, what was the most embarrassing thing you had to say?
Only one?
No, expound.
There was many things that were quite embarrassing. Rock Baby, I'm absolutely crazy about it.
Let's rock, babies.
This party's just getting started. Jackpot.
This party's just getting started.
Yeah.
I don't get to say it, but it's my favorite.
I love a fast woman. That was a fun one, actually. Yeah, there was a lot of, I guess, embarrassing things that I had to say that when you get into it, you kind of forget about it, and then you look at it later and you're like, damn, that's kind of embarrassing. but
The cool thing about motion capture is when you hear lines like that from your partner, you can be right across from them laughing your face off, and nobody's gonna know. Except you're trying to maintain a professional level there and keep it steady for them.
I probably have so many stupid things I've said, especially during Power Rangers. but you know, after Power Rangers, nothing is really embarrassing. As far as, you know, I mean, you're in spandex the whole time, you know, so that's right there. I do remember, though, something embarrassing when I was doing Wolf's Rain. Mary Elizabeth was directing, and that was the first time she directed me, so, you know, or it was the first time I worked with her, so she didn't know how I did things or whatever, and so she'd be really, you know, curt and, you know, straightforward with me, and sometimes it hurt my feelings. But there's this, and so I always wanted to make sure I was doing my best or there on time and everything, and there's one day where I was like, I woke up late, and I was like, oh crap, I can't, like, eat, so I just went, you know, straight there, and it was early. And so I'm in the booth, and my stomach's starting to growl, you know, I was like, and in that booth, you know, you hear everything. Your body makes all kinds of noises that you didn't even know. You know, like if it's here, I could like shuffle my papers or start tapping the table so that you can't hear my stomach. But in there, I was sitting there, and it was like in between doing a line, and my stomach, it wasn't like a regular like, it was like, just that was the exact noise that came from my stomach, and I was like, holy crap, that sounded like a fart just squeezed out. I look over to Mary, an engineer, and I was like, I swear, that was not a fart. And she's like, oh, that's embarrassing. Why is farting embarrassing anyhow? I do have another fart story. I was going in to record another show, voiceover-wise, and this time I was like 15 minutes early, and usually we don't get the script ahead of time, so I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to start reading so I know exactly what's going on. And so as I'm coming to the booth, the engineer sees me, and he like rushes out, and he's like, oh, you don't need to go in there, you have time. I was like, that's all right, I just want to check out the script. So I like started pulling the pages, and I was like, oh, gosh, what the hell? He just farted in the booth. I have to be in here. So he like totally farted in there, and you gotta shut the thing up. It's not that big a room. So it's like, his fart is like permeating, you know? It's like, you know, pretty bad.
Johnny does a little more voice work than us, so he's in those situations a little bit more than you are. Thank God.
Okay, this was a question we received for Ruben about how was it to direct the DMC 3.5 Special Edition?
That was very cool. It was actually, I've kind of directed a couple little things, side things, but something that came out to the masses and had already got the fan base. So it was, you know, I was really stoked when they asked me if I wanted to do it. So it was a great experience. I don't know, Dan, being directed by Dante.
It was great. It was great. I loved it. It was very easy to work with Ruben as a director, and I had no problem.
Yeah, it was fun. Great learning experience. The hardest part, I should say, was not directing these guys, the actors on set. That was the easy part. It was editing with the editors in Japan. There's so many limitations and to what you can do with the PS2 machine and what you can show on the screen at one time. There's a lot of cheating that I had to do to get the shots that I wanted, and editing techniques and whatnot, and learning the whole soft image, you know, and how it all works. And it's, you guys wouldn't believe what a nightmare it is to make these video games and all this stuff. But I actually was in editing, I think, for a month, just for that 5-minute clip or whatever that you saw. So it was quite challenging.
Okay, we'll take some more questions from the press row in the audience. Hello. Oh.
We get competitive, and that's the two brothers. So.
Okay, we have more questions from the audience.
If you could be a character in any other video game, what character would it be?
Good question. I don't know. Hopefully I'll get to be Ichigo in the Bleach game. That would be cool. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 2, but I think Sora's older. That might be. Oh, playing Cloud, that would be awesome. Yeah.
I grew up playing Metal Gear on Nintendo, and I love that character Snake. I love him, and I would love to play Snake. That's who I would actually like to play or be.
I don't know, maybe I'd play Virgil and they'll make Christmas.
Okay, do we have another audience question? Hands?
Ruben, were you originally cast as Dante? How did you get that role?
Believe it or not, it wasn't just my company's power in me. But I actually had to audition just like everybody else. I went through grueling auditions, actually. The first audition I did was in Japan. I happened to be there. I was for another project, and I went and saw the producers, and it was just me. And I did a bunch of stuff. Then later, when our company was asked to cast for these other guys, I had not an open cast, but a cast where I called about the same, about 10 guys in for the Dante role. Then again, I had to audition on tape. But I did have some inside information that the others didn't have. So they helped a little bit. But also, kind of looking like the character a little bit didn't hurt at all.
Dyed his hair white.
After the fact. But yeah, I'd audition just like everybody else and go through the same process.
And in 3, and I think I can talk about the audition.
Yeah.
They wanted to sort of have a different take on Dante as an older character, so I actually auditioned for Dante for 3. I'm sorry, 4.
Yeah.
And I auditioned for Nero. And they wouldn't let me break the mold of Virgil. They're like, it sounds like Virgil doing Dante. I'm like, all right. Well, how about Nero? They're like, it sounds like Virgil trying to do Nero. Okay, fine.
But he did do a great job for both, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, there was a question that I actually had. The stereotypical image of a video game fan is, the teenage or early 20s guy who lives in his parents' basement eating Cheetos. Does it surprise you, like the number of women in Devil May Cry fandom, and what are your thoughts about that?
Very much surprised, because I'm one of those Cheetos eating guys. But yeah, this is amazing, and when I got the call from Susan about this, I was like, what? Really? Girls like this stuff? Really?
Chicks dig the sword.
Chicks dig the sword. That's awesome. Yeah, it's very surprising, and I guess in Japan as well, there's a huge female fan base out there, which I get lots of strange letters and whatnot. But it surprises me every day how big the fandom is, and especially the female audience. I think it's awesome. I dig chicks that play video games. It's awesome.
And by the way, thank you very much for loving the work that we worked hard to bring to the game. But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, some sexy mofos up there. And I know appearance doesn't always go that far with ladies, so I know that really you're falling in love with that character. That personality, and that doesn't surprise me either, really. Those are some sexy dudes throwing some swords around up there.
I guess I feel the same way. I think it's pretty cool. I didn't even realize that it was a game that girls would like, you know. I thought girls would only play that game that, you know, where that thing just rolls and collects things. You know what I'm talking about? You know, that's serious. I mean, I play it. Well, I it just seems so, like, non-violent. But that's cool. Chicks like blood.
Well, actually, before I take another question from the audience, this kind of leads into another question that we had, was we had received a question online about, in DMC 3 and 3.5, you have the shirtless sprites for Dante and Virgil's characters. And you haven't seen them? Your characters, yeah, the unlockables.
When you, the unlockable characters, yeah. Okay.
And so, how do you feel about your contribution to fan service?
I think that's more of an animator's choice for the guys over at Capcom, but hey, whatever, you know, turns your, yeah, floats your boat and, you know, makes everybody happy, that's it's no skin off my back. No, it's all computer generated. I guess.
You didn't go in for the model,
Yeah, exactly. It's spandex and reflective. In my world, it's spandex and reflective.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the audience? I see some hands. Oh wait, Isis has a question.
You touched on it briefly a moment ago about when you were talking about the things that fans send you. Could you just list some of the craziest things that you've received from your fan base?
Well, yeah, well.
All ages.
No. This is actually from one fan in Japan. I guess she was in a very dark moment of her life, and somehow Devil May Cry made it brighter.
Things can always be worse.
No, I got this really thick letter like this, in English and Japanese, and I guess she was in the verge of committing suicide, and playing the game brought her out of that, and you know, she really got involved in the characters and the whole story, and then it gave her hope, and I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad a game can do that. So I don't know, that was kind of odd for me, just reading the letter and actually being touched, you know, from her experience of being touched, you know. So. And I didn't. Luckily, she didn't go into that. It's been so far. I can't complain. It's been very. You know, the fans have been great. There's not been any kind of raunchy weird things. And knock on wood. But it's. I think the fans are great, and they're. You know, I mean, even that thick letter was awesome.
But if you're thinking about sending things like that, my address is... Send the stuff that you want to send him to me, too. I'll take that. I did get a phone call one day, and I thought it was a buddy of mine playing around and playing a joke on me. And I pick up my cell phone. It's my cell phone. Hello? Is this Dan Southworth, the Quantum Ranger? Funny. Who is this? Is this the Quantum Ranger who was in the Clash for Control in the End of Time? And I'm going, yes, it's me. Who is this? And he's like, oh my God, it's really you. I'm really nervous. And I end up talking to this guy, and he's calling me from North Carolina on my cell phone. I go, how did you get my cell phone, dude? And he goes, oh, I got it from Ask Jeeves. You You know, and he asked me some questions. He wanted to, he's writing a script about the Thundercats. And he wants me to, you know, I gave him some advice on how to go about getting a script made and sending it to some people, and wished him well, and convinced him to erase my cell phone number, and call me on my home number, and then I just conveniently changed that over. But I still get mail from him, and he sends me wonderful pictures of monsters, and hands with claws. And now I sleep with a gun underneath my pillow. So as you can see, I would much prefer lingerie.
When I was on Power Rangers, they filtered a lot of the mail, but some things got through. Some dirty things. Those were always kind of fun to open up and be like, whoa! Somebody took a picture? Weird. But recently, I got an email, and we were talking about this earlier, it's not that big a deal, but it's kind of weird. Like, this guy, he just emails me a lot, and I like read like every other email because it's always the same thing. And then finally, he's like going to this convention that I'm going to be at, and then he's like, in his email, he says, "Can you pick me up from the airport?" Tells me what time he's coming in, and then he goes on to tell me that he will pay me. It's kind of weird, because I was like, well, that's what cabs are for. I'm really busy. No. So I just told him no.
During anything that's like all this stuff you guys ever done, did you ever have like days where you just said, I don't want to do it today, and even though you knew you had to, how did you guys just go on doing it?
Yeah, actually, the first day of shooting Devil May Cry 3. Yeah, it was a pretty brutal schedule. I mean, we did all that. For Devil May Cry 3, I think we did all the cinematics in like 10 or 12 days. It was a tighter schedule than 4. I got off the plane and there was no rest. I was jet lagged. I was just tired because we had just rehearsed the whole week before, and it was like get on the plane. We got there, and I was in the first shot up. And it was a long day, and towards the end of the day, I had to do a lot of just action stuff, movements and whatnot, and I was ready to throw in the towel. I was just like, oh my God, I don't know, my body just wasn't functioning. And there was a lot of demands from the staff, because it was the first day of shooting, or capturing, I should say, or whatever, and they wanted the character to be this and that, and believe it or not, I don't know how much I can go into this, but I kind of did throw in the towel that night, and I think that's what made the character, because I kept the whole time during rehearsals and everything, I kept getting all this input, and you got to do it like this, Dante's like this, Dante's like that, and that day just really pissed me off. Because I was so tired and I got all this information, and nobody was happy. And then the next day, I said, I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, and that's what happened. And then the rest of the shoot, I didn't care what anybody said, and I just played the character the way I wanted to play it. And I kind of took a little direction, but I think it was the hardest day, but it also, it gave itself, made the character what it was.
I used to work for one of Jackie Chan's choreographers, and I was his assistant, and those are very long, hard, strenuous days. Stressful too, because I was his liaison to a lot of department heads. And I can remember one time almost breaking down and crying. And then for some reason I heard Tom Hanks in the back of my head going, "There's no crying in baseball." But I'm a stunt man. We don't cry unless something falls on us. But nothing would compare to. I just did a film with Johnny here. Want to talk about that? It's called Broken Path, and it's all action, just about. And we worked 16-hour days, right? 16? We worked in 105-degree heat, humidity in Texas, and it was grueling. And I remember a few times thinking, I don't know if when I flip this time, I'm going to land on my feet. And I was able to get it out. I was able to just get through the choreography, and I know he must have been dying because he was in almost every scene, except scenes of me laying there on the ground. But that is probably the most. And I got to tell you, I had one of those moments where I just didn't know what was going to happen to my body.
Yeah, that was, for me as well, it was definitely the most grueling shoot that I've ever had to do. It was a low-budget film, lots of action. You know, if I have time, I'll cut something so you guys can see a little bit of it. But it was just intense, and, you know, you start to really get dehydrated, and everybody got sick, you know, but it was, it looks crazy. But I split my head open like the first day of shooting. I thought I'd go the extra mile on a fall, and I went too far. Busted my head open. But the film is pretty good for what it is. But anyhow, it was pretty tough.
We had bruises all over our bodies.
We looked like, abused children. Yeah.
You just weren't going to hit that spot.
And we always did too. We always found those bruises. That was tough. I do remember another thing that was really hard for me when voice acting. I had to do, I can't remember it was actually Tales of the Abyss? No, something. It was an anime of a game, not the actual, sorry, my phone's ringing. Sorry.